every once in a while, you find something on the internet that is so detailed, so creative, and just so wonderfully out there that you have to talk about it. Well, today we are diving headfirst into one of those gems, a completely fan-imagined crossover season between The Simpsons and Fortnite.
So let me just ask you this. What would happen if Homer Simpson, of all people, was given the power to bend reality to his will? Just think about that for a second. What's the very first thing he'd do? What's the absolute worst that could possibly happen?
Well, you don't actually have to wonder, because an incredible community of fans over on the Fortnite wiki envisioned an entire, fully realized season based on that exact idea. So let's get into the absolutely wild story they built.
Alright, so how does something like this even begin? Well, like a lot of great stories, it starts with a reality-shattering collision. But to get it, we first need to talk about the story's most important object.
This right here is the 0 point shard. Now in the Fortnite universe, the 0 point is basically the center of all reality. So a tiny little piece of it has enough power to completely rewrite the world. It's the ultimate MacGuffin, and yet it's about to fall into the worst possible hands.
The whole setup is just pure chaos. First, you've got a cosmic battle that rips a wormhole open. Then, realities get all tangled up, and bam! Fortnite and Springfield literally fuse together to create a brand new map, Springfield Island. In all the confusion, the shard gets lost, goes flying through the air, and crashes right through the window at 742 Evergreen Terrace.
And this is where the real trouble starts. The most powerful object in the Omniverse has just landed in the living room of the laziest man in Springfield.
I mean, the local paper just sums it up perfectly. What else can you even say? The headline just writes itself.
So, here's the kicker. Homer finds this cosmic artifact at the exact moment his TV remote stops working. So what does he do? He wires the shard into the remote, turning it into a reality-bending channel surfer. But he's not trying to be evil. He's on this totally misguided quest to improve life for everyone in town. You can already see where this is going, can't you? And yeah, going there is a massive understatement. Homer's simple wishes quickly escalate into a citywide catastrophe, and it all follows a very predictable, very Homer-like path. Of course, it all starts with food. Homer sees a donut-shaped cloud, points his new remote at it, and makes it rain giant donuts, pizzas, and fried chicken all over town. He thinks he's a hero, but he's actually just destroying everything.
And just look how fast this spirals. The whole town gets angry, so Homer tries to get rid of the shard by throwing it into a nuclear fuel pool. Naturally. Well, that causes an explosion that splits his very essence into an army of mindless pink clones that just overrun Springfield. And again, you gotta love the Springfield shopper on the scene with the perfect summary. So, as the townspeople try to fight back, the clones start dissolving into this weird pink gas. But it doesn't just disappear. Oh no! Instead, all that pink gas gathers up in the sky and reforms into one single giant kaiju-sized Homer wearing nothing but his underwear, with the 0 point shard now lodged deep inside his stomach. It's just the perfect conclusion to his accidental self-destruction.
So how do you stop a giant, rampaging Homer? Well, you've got two plans on the table. The heroes of Fortnite, led by Hope, have a very, let's call it, direct plan. Disable his brain and send a team in. But Marge, always the voice of reason, suggests a slightly more empathetic approach.
And, in true Simpsons fashion, it's the heartfelt solution that actually works. Marge and the kids plaster all these family photos over a billboard. The message catches Homer's eye, reminding him of who he really is. He lets out this giant burp, expelling the shard, and just like that, the immediate crisis is over.
So that's the story. But what makes this fan concept so amazing is how they actually translated it all into gameplay. They really thought through what it would be like to play in this world.
I mean, check this out. The fans designed an entirely new map, Springfield Island, and it is packed with iconic locations. Can you imagine dropping at the nuclear power plant, or exploring Camp Krusty, or getting into a firefight on Evergreen Terrace? The level of detail here is just incredible. And of course, the loot pool got a complete Simpsons makeover. I mean, it had to, right? So out went some standard items, and in came things like Krusty Burgers for health and Super Squishies for shields. It's that kind of detail that really makes the whole concept come to life.
But the story wasn't over, not by a long shot. Because even with the shard recovered, Homer was still giant. And for the finale, the fans envisioned one of the most epic final events imaginable. The heroes convince Homer to use his new colossal size for good. So instead of shrinking him down, they enlist him to fight the real cosmic threat that started this whole mess. Homer, the accidental villain, finally gets a chance to be the hero.
And you are not going to believe who they imagined answering the call. Using the shard, the heroes summon allies from across the entire Omniverse. We're talking Godzilla and Kong, Superman, the Power Rangers. They even got Star Wars' Resistance and the Galactic Empire to call a temporary truce for this. This is fan service on a scale that is just mind-blowing.
And that's the story of the fan-made Simpsons season. An entire narrative complete with weekly story updates, map changes, new items, and a blockbuster finale. It's just a powerful reminder that sometimes the most imaginative ideas come directly from the passion of a community. It's just an incredible piece of collaborative world building. Which leaves me with one final question for you. If you could create your own dream crossover, what would you build? Something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with me.
Stupid Flanders.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We've been handed sources documenting one of the shortest, and I mean strangest periods in recent memory.
Oh, absolutely.
A mini-season that lasted just 28 days. We're talking November 1st to the 29th, 2025.
And it wasn't just short.
No, not at all. This was a chaotic, reality-fusing sprint that all ended with this colossal, world-ending final battle.
It's a fascinating case study. I mean, what's really noteworthy here is just how quickly everything went from, a pretty serious post-disaster rebuilding phase.
Right, after the insectoid swarm was pushed back from Onanoshima.
Exactly. It went from that to just, all-out cartoon absurdity. The primary conflict, it really kicked off with a failure to contain the dark presence.
And that failure triggered a cosmic collision.
A cosmic car crash, basically. Emerged realities, and boom, a brand new island just appeared instantly.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to track these rapid, almost weekly shifts in the map, the physics, the whole arsenal. It's all centered on the misuse of one thing, a shard of the 0 point. You have an entire reality just collapsing into this unbelievable cartoon landscape in less than a month.
And the pressure, imagine the pressure on players trying to adapt to a world that was just fundamentally changing every few days.
I can't.
The pressure was immense, and the thing is, the instability was intentional. The very start of the season just set the stage for maximum chaos.
So, okay, let's unpack this. The hero, Hope, she manages to steal a piece of the 0 point shard from the dark presence itself.
Right, a huge win.
But then, during this chaotic fight over the controls of a flying saucer, the artifact just gets lost. It's flung into the air.
Right, as the battle bus, piloted by this notoriously unreliable school bus driver, crashes directly into the saucer.
And that's the moment. The original island, Onanoshima, fuses with another reality.
And suddenly you have Animated Town Island, complete with 9 new named locations and 13 new landmarks. all at once.
So you're dropping into places like the local nuclear facility, the comical campgrounds, a classic suburban street.
And the frosted goods sector. But the real engine of all this chaos wasn't even the map. It was that lost piece of the 0 point shard.
And where does this single most powerful artifact in the Omniverse land?
Of course.
It flies straight into the home of a, let's call him the local dullard.
Who has no idea what it is.
None. He embeds it into his TV remote. And just like that, he's holding a reality-bending conduit.
The whole early story arc, which they called Apocalypse Doe, is just him trying to, improve people's lives, but mostly just making these surreal, localized messes.
I mean, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sheer incompetence of this guy is the whole point, right? The story hinges on it.
Absolutely. He is controlling the most dangerous force imaginable, and he's using it for, the most mundane and misguided goals you can think of.
Like the pretzels.
The sentient pretzels.
Mm-hmm.
The sources confirm an early incident where he modified them to be sentient and forced themselves into the eater's mouths for consumption.
And that level of immediate absurdity was matched by the game's design itself.
It really was. The change wasn't just lore. It was functional, it was aggressive, and it was immediate. That first update, V38.00, it signaled a whole new era.
They didn't ease anyone in. They just, dismantled the entire existing meta?
Threw it right out the window. It was like a tactical nuke on established strategy. Overnight, nearly 30 weapons and utility items were vaulted, gone.
30 items. That includes fan favorites, right?
Yeah.
Pump-action shotgun, the modular ARs.
All gone. Losing that much familiar firepower, it mandates this immediate and, frankly, stressful adaptation from every single player.
So why do that? Why not just phase things out slowly? Doesn't that risk alienating your audience when they're already dealing with a brand new map?
That's a great question, and I think it points to this design philosophy of, volatility. The sources suggest it served two purposes. One, it mechanically reflected the story's chaos.
Okay, that makes sense. The world's unstable, so the tools are unstable.
Exactly. And two, it prevented a dominant meta from ever forming. When you throw in new weapons like the Striker AR, the enhanced tactical shotgun, and that ridiculous exotic clown-themed shotgun,
Mr. Blasty.
players have no baseline. They are forced into this trial-by-fire situation with all the new gear.
So the chaos in the arsenal just forced continuous experimentation.
Right. And then you get to the second phase, Sugar High, with update V38.10, and the absurdity it ramps up.
This is where he starts ignoring the warnings from the bespectacled scientist.
A character who, by the way, he had already turned into a walking banana.
What reason?
So the scientist could perform research on himself. You can't make this up.
It's just remarkable how quickly things escalated from sentient snacks to meteorological disasters.
Well, the local dullard saw a cloud shaped like a pastry, right? And he just instinctively used the remote on it.
And turns it into a giant pink frosted donut.
Which then falls from the sky and kicks off the whole crisis.
This is where it gets really interesting for gameplay. It led to this massive food rain event. Supersized pizzas, pies, fried chicken just raining down.
His goal was to feed people, but the scale was so off that the food was just destroying homes. It sparked a massive rebellion.
And this wasn't just a story beat. This became a real in-game meteorological event.
The donut storm. After a regular storm phase, giant pastries would just randomly fall from the sky.
And they could instantly destroy buildings or players, right?
Instantly. But sometimes they'd hold high-tier chests. So it was this high-risk, high-reward hazard that completely changed how you played the late game.
You're not just worried about the storm wall anymore. Now you're dodging falling baked goods.
Yeah. And then Phase 3, Multiplicacy, update V38.11, the narrative just hits critical mass. He panics because of the rebellion.
And he decides to get rid of the remote. In the worst possible place.
The absolute worst. He throws the 0 point shard into the radioactive fuel pool at the heart of the local nuclear facility's core.
Which is precisely what you do not do with an artifact that can bend reality.
And the result was that raw 0 point energy just flooded the entire island. It triggered these massive physical changes that players had to navigate overnight.
So what happened first?
First, the nuclear facility itself became a permanent low-gravity zone.
Forcing everyone to relearn how to fight there. Jumps are higher, bullets fly differently.
Totally. Second, the big lake in the middle of the map and all the rivers connected to it turned bright pink.
And what was the effect of the pink water?
If you entered it, you got bursts of 0 point dash. a huge temporary speed and evasion boost.
So that's a massive strategic advantage. It forces competitive players toward these contaminated rivers for rotation.
It did. And third, the explosion at the core unleashed an army of these mindless pink clones of the main character.
Okay.
And when you eliminated them, they'd release this pink gas that didn't just disappear, it floated up and it all condensed into a single, giant, ominous cloud over the island.
The pacing is just unbelievable here. Low gravity zones, super speed water, a clone army, all in rapid succession.
And that cloud, it started to take shape, looking like the main character curled up before the final transformation.
The cinematic moment.
The cloud reconstitutes into a massive kaiju-sized version of the character, stripped down to just his underwear, who immediately goes on a rampage.
He damages a town square, steals the founder's statue.
And the heroes realize the shard is now inside this colossal character, which is what's causing the transformation.
So the objective shifts from just surviving to now somehow engaging with this giant.
It was a huge task, and let's not forget the arsenal chaos leading up to this. The number of specialty weapons they introduced in just 28 days is staggering.
New mythics from specific enemies, right? The enhanced tactical shotgun from the evil clone boss.
And the enhanced compact SMG from the witch matriarch. The loot pool was less a pool and more a constantly boiling cauldron.
They added the cartoon chainsaw, the embiggened assault rifle.
The Dragon's Belt shotgun. It was a completely novel arsenal introduced in just a few weeks. The goal was to just test player adaptation to the absolute limit.
So no single strategy could ever stay on top for more than a day or two.
Exactly. You couldn't rely on muscle memory. You had to read the patch notes every 48 hours and totally rethink your loadout.
And the final tactic to stop this colossal character wasn't even about firepower. The sources call it an empathetic approach.
It was. The hero group, led by the concerned matriarch, they rejected the military's plan to just, vaporize his frontal lobe.
A bit extreme.
Just a bit. Instead, they focused on appealing to his humanity, which was buried somewhere in there.
So they used these really complex thematic items like a sarcasm machine and hamburger earmuffs to upgrade a Rift device.
But the crucial piece was a massive billboard. They plastered it with family photos and a simple message: do IT for US.
And it worked.
It worked. He paused, let out this huge thematic burp, and just expelled the 0-point shard. The heroes grabbed it.
That is one of the most absurd ways to avert a multiversal catastrophe I think I've ever heard.
It truly is. But getting that shard back allowed them to mobilize for the final event, 0 Hour.
Right. And the now humbled, colossal character agrees to go back to the original island, Oninoshima, to help them fight the Dark Presence.
Yeah, and this is the moment we really have to just appreciate the scale of it. The sources list an innumerable band of heroes fighting together.
The headliners in this alliance are just astonishing.
I mean, it is genuinely unprecedented. You have gargantuan figures like the colossal green creature and the giant ape fighting right alongside classic protectors like the caped hero.
And the high-kicking, color-coded team.
Yes. And beyond that, you saw this dramatic political shift. A truce between the galactic resistance and the imperial factions, all united against the Dark Presence.
An alliance between the galactic factions and the color-coded team, led by a giant, now benevolent dullard. The logistics of coordinating that is just mind-boggling.
It really speaks to the ultimate power of the 0 point. When it's misused, it rips realities apart, but when it's controlled, it can temporarily unite them.
And how was the Dark Presence finally defeated?
They rifted a specific red corruption cube right onto the battlefield and used it to banish the threat. The island was purified, the character went back to normal size, and all the heroes were sent home.
This was less a season and more an explosion. Just a 28-day sprint of reality fusion, food rain, pink mutations, and a final battle that rested on a burrito-burping character convinced by a photo billboard.
And the volatility, I mean, that's underscored by the rapid fire testing of everything. The custom-shaped storms, specifically one shaped like the number 7.
Right.
It was vaulted and unvaulted multiple times in the final few days. The constant enabling and disabling of things like the radio towers, it just shows how close to the wire they were operating.
So the key takeaway here, for you, is just how rapidly a game world can be transformed, not just by story, but by fundamental physics, low gravity, dash water, and a total turnover of the arsenal.
It was a season designed to force constant stressful adaptation, and we saw the purification of the island, and the main protagonists, Hope and Jones, they leave Oninoshima for a new, unknown location.
To start the next chapter.
But the sources confirm that as they departed on their battle bus, their vehicle was mysteriously shot down by an unknown spacecraft.
A sudden, violent end to a season of calculated absurdity.
Indeed. But it leaves you with a question. Given the incredible instability, the constant vaulting and unvaulting of weapons and map dynamics right up until the final hour, what does this level of rapid, volatile content iteration imply about the stability and the future design philosophy of this new island they're heading toward? Is this brief, chaotic experiment now the blueprint for the future?